Welcome to Billboard Breakdown with Studio.com. Today we're gonna remake Paint the Town Red by Doja Cat, and it's gonna sound like this. Alright guys, my name is Bad Habit, and let's talk about Paint the Town Red by Doja Cat. 3 weeks at #1, 9 weeks on chart, just amazing. So we're gonna remake it from scratch live so you can see my thought process, how I get there, so you can do it too. Let's start from saying that this song is based on a sample from 1963, so exactly 60 years ago, from a song called Walk On By. The sample is the first thing that we hear in the song in the intro, and it's pretty much going on the whole time, even underneath Doja's vocals. So let's see what they did to make it sound like a modern song 60 years later. I'm gonna start by taking the original song and we're gonna sample it. I found the section that they use and it's this one right here. They just used this little section looped, and to pretend we're actually sampling it from an old vinyl from the 60s, I'm gonna use this plugin called Vinyl. So simple but so powerful, all the decades here that kinda sound a little bit different, right? This is just an amazing plugin. In this case, I don't want no dust, I don't want no warp. I just want a little bit of wear, right? Because the record is old. And even if the song is from the 60s, I think I'm gonna go for 50s. This takes away a little bit of low end and it makes it sound closer to the original one. So that's all I'm gonna do with this plugin. And I noticed they also duplicated this first quarter. So what's happening the second time around is this. So we have our loop, and at this point I think they also added a little bit of lo-fi effect, and my favorite plugin to do this at the moment is Tape Mellow. So I'm just gonna scroll through the presets. This is cool, but it's a little bit too much. Oh, I kind of like this one. The drive is a little bit too intense. Let me dial it down. Too much noise, too much flutter, that's better. And I want it just a little bit more filtered. Something like that. So to make sure that the vocals in the sample and Doja's vocals are not getting in the way of each other, I think a little bit of filtering like we just did is really crucial. Amazing. So we have the sample, and except for this, there's not much going on in the song, at least that you can hear, because there's a lot of hidden layers that you think you're not hearing, but if you take them away, you'll realize how crucial they are. Starting from the intro, they added a bunch of supporting layers, some sort of harp or like bells, definitely analog sounding. So I'm gonna look inside synths like BA1, Repro. When you're trying to match a sound, it's also very important that the chords are matching. And in this case, they're super simple. It's just 2 chords. So we have this very simple chord progression, just the G minor 7 followed by a A minor. And some of these layers sometimes are gonna play the chords in a slightly different version. Instead of playing this, they do this, but it's just the same chord with the A on top. And some other times they're gonna also play the A minor 7. But basically, these are the chords. That's it. Let me listen to some presets. Oh, this could be cool. We can work with this. The most important section of this sound is actually the envelope. To make it sound plucky, so very little sustain, longer release, some decay. Right? Yeah, but to bring out some more frequencies from this sound, we need OTT. See, just a subtle layer, but it's definitely helping, like defining the chords and not leaving just the sample as is. Some reverb, and I've been loving the Palace reverb. I needed something else to support this sound that we just added, and so I also used Keyscape with this little preset. They're kind of complementing each other in a nice way. There's a few more of these little layers that I hear in the original song, but we're gonna come back to that in a minute because now I want to take care of drums. So right after the intro, the 808 is coming in, the snap is coming in, and some hats. There is basically nothing in the drums. But let me tell you, these are actually the most difficult productions. There is no clap, there is no hip-hop snare, only a snap. And you know what's funny? That just type in snaps, the fourth from the top is the actual one, is the one that they used. What I hear is that it's slightly transposed, possibly something like that. And one thing that I like to do while I'm using the drum rack is sometimes adding a little bit of drive to my drum samples. This should be fine. In this case, I don't want to play it in. I just want to draw it in the piano roll. And one thing that I want to do is slightly move the sample so it doesn't start exactly on grid. We can do it from here just by doing -10 milliseconds. And this creates a natural flam that's going to make it sound a little bit more realistic, you know, because if you're snapping, you're never snapping exactly on the grid. I want to add this to just make the transients pop out a little bit more. And now let's make it sound like we're snapping inside a room. Add a reverb. There's a lot of choice for drum sounds, so this is always my go-to reverb for that. And in this case, I want to keep it pretty short, just giving it some room and space. The hat is also very simple, a classic hip-hop hi-hat. So these are the two that sound the closest. The only thing that I want to point out is that they definitely did not write the pattern for the hat inside the piano roll. Or if they did, they really tweaked the velocities because it sounds like it's been played manually. Like every hit is a little bit different. There's definitely some dynamics going on. No, this is horrible. Let's redo it. Better. Adjust some of these velocities. Yeah. Just a little bit of live feeling, like it's been played on an MPC, but a little bit of filtering just to make it a little bit less annoying. And you know how much I like to just shape the sounds with a little bit of envelope. So I'm gonna reduce the sustain to 0. I'm gonna make this hat a little bit shorter, a little bit tighter. Compared to this. It's like very subtle, but guys, I really feel the difference. You know what? I actually want to try to layer it with this one because this one sounds really cool. On its own, it's not enough definitely, but together with this one, it can be cool because we slightly filter the other hat to get rid of those harsh frequencies, but then this one is gonna help because this one is not as harsh. And also I think the hats are slightly moving from left to right. So one very cool thing that we can do inside this simpler is setting this random pan. We can do like 25%. We're gonna do it on both, of course. Every hit is not exactly in the middle. And like I just did for the snap, I want to enhance the transients a little bit, but this time I'm going to use this plugin right here, Transient Master. I love this one. Super simple, 2 knobs. These are the plugins that I love, like 2 knobs, but when you move them, they really do something. And actually, you know what? I just had an idea. To enhance the transients, not only I'm going to use this plugin, but this hi-hat has a waveform. You can definitely see it. It's kind of fading in. I wanted to have a strong attack. So what I'm going to do is this. Make it start from somewhere around here. Oh yeah, definitely better. Okay, I'm sure you've never noticed this before, but the kick is never coming in up until the verse. So basically the song has an intro and then it has a chorus and a post-chorus, which is the part that everybody's singing, right? And then it goes into this verse and that's when we actually hear the kick for the first time. And that's the only section where they use the natural kick in the whole song. The rest is only the 808, which has that like sort of kick inside of it. So let's get to the part that everybody was waiting for, the 808. And then when we get to the verse, we're also gonna add the kick. So the 808 is one of my favorite elements of the song. It's a contact library called 808 Warfare. It's been around for a while, but it's still one of my favorites. And the reason I thought of this is because the 808 is pretty clean. It's not like an aggressive 808. I love to start from this preset because it's just a very powerful like sine wave that I can now edit and tweak to my liking. This sounds amazing, it's a good starting point, but I think the key to this 808 is how they were able to make it sound loud and like powerful, but without distortion or making it sound like a super aggressive 808. And this shows how mindful they were of doing justice to the original sample. It's clear that the approach they had with the whole production was like, okay, let's make it sound modern. It has to have all of the elements of a hip hop song like the 808, the drums like the hi-hat, but none of these elements is aggressive. Not even the 808. Like it sounds loud, but it's not in the way of anything. So I'm gonna give you some key plugins for 808s. First of all, for saturation, this is my favorite by far for 808s. You can start from a clean 808 like this one and just do whatever you want. You can do this, you can do this, you could do... I mean, what are we talking about? This plugin is just insane, but this is not what we need today. We need to add some saturation to make sure that everybody can hear that 808, whether they're playing it from the phone or from loudspeakers or headphones. Add a little bit of saturation to the low frequency. This pentode is also helping the kick coming out a little bit. Loved it. So without it, with it. Yeah. Ooh. So now I want to add some more saturation, but something kind of clean. I'm gonna add some clean tube, give a little boost to the bass. Another key plugin to make your 808 stand out, the Pultec EQ. This is insane for 808. This is Mike Dean's favorite plugin for 808s. Mike Dean's word, we gotta trust that. So I'm gonna boost the 60. Yeah. Oh wow. Without it. Where's the bass? Like, where's the 808? Oh, now we have it. We said that in the verse the kick is coming in, but it's not the only thing changing. So let's start from the kick. There is a kick inside one of these cashmere packs that I like. This is pretty cool, but it's not cutting through the mix like the one they used. I can probably find a better sample for this. Like, how about this one? Doesn't have a lot of low end, but we don't really need a lot of low end. We have the 808. We really need some punch and like body, especially in the mids, and this kick has it. Not bad at all, but we gotta blend it in with the 808 saturation. Ooh, love this. What about transposing it? Oh yeah. Ooh, so much better. I love this. So if we listen to kick and 808 together, this is what they sound like. And I also want to try this. This is one of Oliver's favorite plugins, the producer of all of those splice packs that are like insanely good. He's using this on basically every single sample. Yeah, I want the kick to be a little bit more like this. The tone is changing and it's working so much better now. 808 and kick are blended perfectly together. Since the kick is doing this pattern, we also have to change the pattern of the 808 slightly. And I also added this little fill. Very quickly, I also want to add a little bit of sidechain to the 808 whenever the kick is playing. All of this saturation that I applied to the kick is kind of bringing out some low frequencies, so I want a little bit more control between kick and bass. And my favorite way to do this for this specific case is using the Pro Amp multiband compression, so we can apply the sidechain only to the frequencies that we want to. I want to go really low, I don't know, 60 hertz. Release has to be a little bit longer. Very cool. A few more things that might go unnoticed. In this section, the hat is played a little bit differently. It feels more like it's been played on quarter notes instead of 8 notes. And a fast way to do this is using LFO tool and here, taming the volume of the upbeat. So it feels more like it's... Okay guys, drums are done, but stick around because later I'm gonna do drum processing. And I cannot do it now because I need to have the finished beat and everything has to be balanced first. So we're gonna come back to that in a few minutes. But we also have some interesting layers that we left behind before. Starting from the intro, I also feel there is like some sort of dark pad just playing the chords underneath. Really quiet in the mix, but they kind of help to define the chords because these two layers are both playing a plucky part. I found these two very simple pads. Like this is just a super simple patch from the Juno, and this one instead I found it inside the VS, Prophet VS. A little more like evolving, kind of opening the filter a little bit. Quiet in the mix, but they help. In the intro, I was also hearing some horns that I couldn't really find in the sample. I went through the whole song to like listen if there was a section with those horns, but I couldn't find them. So I think they added these. And this is a super smart move because they added some horns that sound like they're part of the sample. So I want to look for these inside SRX Orchestra, which I used before for horns in this hip hop vibe. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for. So they do something like this. Love this. But this one alone is not enough, so let's find a few more layers. This one and this one, which I also distorted a little bit. A little bit fuller, but we said that the clever move was making them sound like they're coming from the sample. So we definitely need to add something like lo-fi effects. Love it, love it. It's not over, I told you. It sounds like there's nothing happening in the song, but there's a lot of layers. I hear a sound starting from the intro and then going on for the whole song. That kind of sounds like, I don't know, some toy pianos. We should have something inside this. Something like that. Oh no, definitely not. This could be perfect. And this is another layer that has to sound like it's coming from the sample. Yeah, OTT to bring out especially the high frequencies, and a little bit of reverb. We're missing only two things: drum processing and some layers that again they use in that verse section to bring some fresh vibes to the song. And we can do these quickly because I know exactly what they are. They sound like FM sounds. I don't even know how to explain what FM synthesis is, but I just know how it sounds because it sounds like sparkly. It reminds me of like bells coming from the DX7, all of those like synths. In this case, I want to try the Prophet VS. To be honest, I'm not even sure this is FM synthesis. This says vector synthesizer. I don't know. Anyway, I know that this synth has those kind of sounds. Yeah, something like this. So this was a ton of reverb and very quiet in the mix. And I also found this sound. I think they really complement each other. Another crucial layer that I was hearing is this like electric piano with a lot of phaser effect on it. And I found this preset, Psycho EP. I added this phaser. It sounds like this. This is really helping like the chords. Okay guys, I reorganized the session. Now it's looking good and I'm ready for processing the drums together. It's not many elements and I decided to include the 808 into the drum bus. It's something that I don't usually do, but I want to make sure that I can process the 808 together with the kick. So first thing, I want to compress the whole thing together. I don't want to go too aggressive with this. Let's dial down the mix a little bit. Cool. So without it and with it, we have better control over the 808 and kick especially. They're like glued together. And I want to try this one for saturation. Yeah. What about this magic? Whoa. I think this is a good sweet spot. Now the output is a little bit more controlled. I want to try this one. One of my go-to ones. Drum mix bus. Oh yeah. Definitely adding some low end. Woo. And finally, I have a little surprise for you guys. It's something that I found out pretty recently. I've been using this plugin, Lion Master. It's supposed to go on the master, but I kind of like to use it on drum bus, especially for like hip hop stuff. To kind of enhance the whole thing, there's a super cool preset, Mix Bus, hip hop. Of course, this is too loud. So let me do this. Okay, I don't want any gain on the high frequencies, but on the low frequencies, this is also helping. Without it, unbelievable. All right, guys, we got to the end. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something. And if you did, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and you can also find me on my own channel. It's linked down in the description. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next Billboard breakdown.